Races, in my opinion, after doing a lot of research on biology, have nothing to do with I'm dark because my people are from the sunny area, and that's all. The real genetics talks about almost 2% variance between a Caucasian, a black man, a Native American, an Indian, a Chinese person. There's a variance there. It doesn't mean that we're not all one, because we're still a race, a human race. But what it does mean is on a genetic level, just through pure evolution, virtually impossible in the short amount of time we've been here for us to have that variance. That variance was a purposeful one. It was done in a laboratory.
Yeah.
And it could be a mark of, okay, these are my people, these are my people, these are my people. This is the regions that they're in. And they raise up these megalithic structures all over these geological node points, or these magnetic points around the planet. It was just like, they're just like us, so we're just like them. They were good people and bad people, good Ijiji, good Anunnaki, bad, and so forth. Some really loved us, some actually risked losing their ability to even go back to their home world by marrying human beings, taking them as wives, and decided even some to stay here just because of that, because they fell in love with humans. And some tried to help, like Thoth the Atlantean. He literally was wanted to help us raise our consciousness to a higher level. And why I respect him is because he never masqueraded as a god. He always said that he was a son of Atlantis, or a child of the sun. And he never said, I'm your God and you do what I say, and so forth and so on. He was deified long after he left a certain area. He left an area, he became then deified, and that's how he became called a God, but he never masqueraded as a God.
So were the Ijiji, did the Anunnaki leave and go home, and were the Ijiji left here? And is the Ijiji the bloodline that became the elite in the Cabal in the world?
I believe so. After the last Pyramid War, where Amun-Ra was the one who instigated it again, he escaped. But what happened was there was a nuclear war, most likely, and a lot of evidence of this nuclear war has been left all around the planet, where you have vitrified buildings, sand being vitrified in the Middle East. You have Mohenjo-Daro in the Indus Valley. Buildings are vitrified, dead bodies still laying in the street with high levels of radiation in them until this very day, not even touched by scavenging animals. So I believe that at that time, there was a war, and a lot of them left, but some of these working class Ijiji people stayed here. They already had wives and families and bloodlines and everything else, probably even leading to the Merovingian bloodline, which would have led to Yeshua, who some people call Jesus. So I believe that the bloodline stayed, and when you really track these bloodlines and track it all the way back from the Sumerian Kings list at the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford, England, you discover that some of these Anunnaki people were ruling the earth for 28, 14, 15, 20,000 years. It ended up being over 140,000 years, but then you track that bloodline, it leads after the Great Flood into a half human, half Anunnaki bloodline that they had, which was like the kingship or the pharaonic bloodline. And then you track that after Alexander the Great conquers Egypt, far in the future from that point. These pharaohs and their bloodlines start basically migrating towards Europe. And across that time, they're mating with Arabs, they're mating with people from the Caucasus Mountains and so forth. They end up in England, they start another kingdom there. They become mostly Caucasian by this time, but their lineage goes all the way back to that Sumerian Kings list. From there, you can track it all the way into the future, into the current day where we're at now, with the presidents of the United States all being directly related to that same exact bloodline, all cousins, genetically proven on the genealogies, many genealogy sites, and also even admitted by most of the presidents, current presidents themselves, including Obama's already admitted, Bush, Trump, Clinton.
Yeah.
It's even Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton are actual cousins. They're like eighth cousins. And so forth. Bill Clinton is a cousin of Hillary Clinton. Obama and Bush are cousins. So it just goes way back, and it just shows you that no matter who wins the presidency of the United States, they always win because they have dogs on both sides, basically. And so no matter which one wins, they always win. They meaning the people that really run this planet. Before the flood, it was pure bloodline, kingship. After the Great Flood, a decision was made to hand over kingship to humans. But not just humans in direct. You'd have to have a contact or a person in the middle. And that middle person will be half human and half Anunnaki or half Atlantean, whatever you want to call it. So that's how they maintain that bloodline, a little bit of control there. And these people that are ruling this planet, if you ask them, they truly believe that they were designed and born and bred to rule over everybody, to own us and rule over us and tell us what to do and control us. Rothschild, Rockefeller, all these people are, in their mind, that's their reality. That's what they feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, what happens is you get a God complex. And when you start ruling and controlling people in a way and telling people that you're a God over time, you truly start to believe it.
Yeah.
This happens in current day times right now with people that live here, that are running countries.
Yeah.
You start to get a God complex, and they actually got a God complex. They had so much superior technology over us. They had a much better understanding of the ether of space-time itself, how to manipulate frequencies and how to manipulate matter. So they were so far in advance. And plus, this was like a wild, wild west for them. They had no real laws here keeping them in check. So when they at first, they would combat each other as to, is this ethical to do or just not ethical to do? And then later on, you start to see it was just like, whatever goes, it's like, just do whatever.
Right.
And it was
They got used to the fact that there was no oversight.
Exactly, no oversight. When they got used to it, they just went crazy. I mean, they literally just went completely off the ranch.
Yeah.
And they started doing all kind of stuff that, I'm talking about genetically modifying animals and mixing humans with animals and all kind of crazy type of genetic experiments that they were doing just because they could. It's really just because they could. So it's really a weird situation. And unfortunately for us, it put us in the jackpot, and there was nothing we can do because we didn't have the understanding or the technology to combat them. We had the numbers. So what they did was, since we used to live for a very long time before they even got here, we at the Tower of Babel incident, we were actually building a tower. Now, whether that was a cargo cult and we were mimicking something we saw them build, or we literally had become technologically advanced enough to build something, it literally threatened their power. And Enlil, who's known as Yahweh in the Bible, but your Bible just stole that story from the ancient Sumerian tablets. He's Enlil, the brother of Enki. He sees this tower, he gets extremely disgusted, and he knocks this tower down. Not only does he knock the tower down, this is when I knew as a kid when I read this that wasn't talking about the God of the universe, because it didn't make sense that people were working together and then this God who created a universe would come back and destroy something that people worked together to build. Then he says something very interesting. He says, "My seed shall not abide in man forever, his years shall be 120. Well, scientists at Harvard just discovered under the most pristine conditions a human being should live to 120 years. Well, why is this? The telomere caps on chromosome number 2, which they have now peer-reviewed science tells us that this cap was put there on this chromosome, and it forces us to live that long. And only what happens is the genetic material inside these telomeres starts to disappear over time as your cells and DNA replicate. It's like a buffer material. They discovered a way to stop this buffer material from disappearing from these telomeres, and they've extended the life of mice 2 to 3 times.
Wow.
Which means they can do it in humans now, which is now crucial for us, because if we don't take back control of this planet, they're going to start selling us time.